Hi. Hey guys, and welcome back to the map making panel. Right, so today we have quite a few of the community's most prolific map makers with us today. We have, okay, starting from alphabetical order, because this was very difficult actually, very difficult decision. We have Sparks in the end there, Accidental Gaming, okay. We have Adam Clark over here, okay. Better known as Wizard Keen from Wonder Quest. We have Blockworks, we've got James Delaney from Blockworks, Builders, okay. Cube Hamster, Slime Block Engineer, Master Builder. Okay, we've got me, you might have heard of me before, Dragnos. We've got Theo the Ape. He won the last Minecon build competition. He's commonly known by that facial expression. Okay. The theqmagnet. He brought out a little map called Diversity and Diversity 2. You might have heard of it. Okay. And then, of course, absolutely no introduction necessary, Seth Bling, the grandfather of us all. The Grand Taffy. Okay. Right, so we wanted to basically have an idea of what we wanted to share with you guys. We will have a live Q&A towards the end of the panel if we get to the time. What we're going to do is there's a white spot on the right-hand side of the stage. When it is time, if you guys can just queue up and you will be handed a microphone and you can ask your live questions. Okay, so basically very, very quickly we're going to be looking at inspiration. Where do all these people get their inspiration from? Where do they start? Because that's a very big thing. Where do they start? Another big thing is, do you need a story? If you're making a map, is a story necessary? We're then going to look at various teams and various build teams, who builds what, and so forth. Then commands. Are you using command blocks? Do you need to use redstone, and so forth? A big question we had via social media as well was, how do you actually release a map? Okay, so we've had a bit of a discussion between ourselves, and we might have an answer or two. Something we want to also maybe talk about is opportunities. Map making is fantastic. It's a great way to explore the game and learn the game and teach other people. But is there actually opportunities with maps? Okay, and then we will have our live Q&A. Okay, so yeah, no, just play the video. Play the video. So what we'll have in the background, we will just have some of our trailers and some of the stuff that we've done in the past. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with Wizard Keen, or Adam. Yeah, so he's basically been responsible for something called Tate Worlds. He's been responsible for a lot of the Wonder Quest stuff. Very briefly, tell us, this is the man that makes things happen.
Yeah, so some of the things I do is, I did all the Tate Worlds maps, so Tate Britain, and if you've got time, I'd go to Tate. There's two Tates in London, Tate Britain and Tate Modern, and they're the kind of the UK's place, they're the galleries for the UK art. Okay, so there's a lot of modern art there and a lot of traditional art there as well. And they have a prize every year called the IK Prize, and I was lucky enough to be shortlisted for one of the ideas for it. Those ideas, really, my idea was, why don't we use Minecraft to explore fine art? So why don't we just be able to walk into a painting? Okay, and so my idea was take a painting from Tate and then build a map that told the story a little bit about the painting itself. And that's how I kind of got into all this map building. And so what I did was I reached out to the community and got other people far more talented than myself to build the map for me, but I came up with the ideas. So I became much more of a digital producer. And I've done maps like that from ever since then. So I'm always been interested in education and Minecraft and gameplay and engagement, especially with young people, using Minecraft and other kind of games as well to engage a young audience in extraordinary ideas.
Excellent. So you took your inspiration from where then to do that? Where did you get your inspiration to suggest a map?
So the inspiration often comes from source material. That source material can be from a museum, it can be from books, and it can be from traditional media, if you like. And all we're doing, really, all I'm doing with a lot of kind of these ideas is recreating something or reinterpreting it using Minecraft to do that. And Minecraft's really good at that because Minecraft is the engaging source. Yeah, it's the thing that we all play and we all love. But we need a strong, well, when I engage with it, I want a strong starting material. Often that is a painting or maybe a book or a novel.
Okay, so in your particular case, we were looking at paintings and literature and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Seth Bling, you recently did Splatoon. Okay, so where does all of your inspiration come from? And I kind of want to, yeah, go for it. That's an important one.
Well, I usually try and use as much of suck other people's creativity out of them and just use it for myself as much as I can. I like to make maps based on existing games and just bring it to Minecraft. And sometimes there's not a lot of creativity in the actual like inspiration aspect of it, but rather how do you reimagine it to work with blocks and command blocks, the way command blocks work and all that.
So would you say your inspiration comes from the challenge of recreating it?
Yeah. I really like trying to figure out how to take it from one platform to another in a way that makes sense and is fun.
Okay, yeah. Fantastic. We had a conversation as well, Cube Hamster, where you said, I think you share a similar inspiration story. So where does your inspiration come from?
For me, most of the inspiration comes from like playing video games, but like think about it more now also like creations from other Redstoners. And like the funny story about Missile Wars, how that came to be is that I had like the two giant robots fighting each other and we shot missiles at each other. And that was literally like the funnest thing about that entire experience. I was like, wow, maybe we can turn that into a game. So like that experience kind of inspired that whole thing to come to life.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to kind of slightly jump around in this, but so you said it was fun, but
yeah.
How do you end up making it a game? How did Seth get involved?
Well, I met Seth for the first time like in Paris, and we already like talked about doing a project together, and we didn't really know what. But then like had that experience, and I had contact with him, and was like, "Dude, I have an idea. We should totally do this." And then like we started working on the core mechanics of the game, and I had ideas, and like Seth had like his own interpretation of those ideas, and that kind of like twisted and like mingled, and then. Yeah, maybe you can continue on that.
Yeah, it was interesting because we really didn't agree at all. In fact, we had a lot of ideas. It's not that we necessarily, we did disagree, but we didn't know what kind of game it was going to be at the beginning. Was it going to be a real-time strategy? Was it going to be just like a quick action game? And it ended up being kind of a weird thing in its own genre. So it just sort of evolved as we played around with the missiles and played the game for ourselves and just saw. In Missile Wars, you can jump on missiles, and we didn't even plan that as a feature, to be honest. Somebody just did it, and we're like, what? You're not supposed to do that? Wait, this is really fun. So you just never know how it's going to turn out. You can't go in with a rock-solid plan and expect that to be where you're going to end up.
You just said something that I want to pick at a little bit. You said that your ideas you kind of had different ideas, and was there any kind of a slight conflict? And how did you resolve that? So when you're working with different map makers, you're going to be faced with very particular challenges. And this is a big one, is that one person agrees to do things in one way, another person wants to do it in a different way. So it comes down to being able to compromise. So
yeah.
Talk us through that.
That was like the whole, I think that it was kind of give and take at different moments where like, even though I like had occasions where I might not have agreed with Seth, I was like, sure, let's roll with it. And then like, there was other things where he would I would keep pushing, and then he would give me that. So it was kind of like back and forth. But I think it turned out great though.
I think a lot of the initial disagreement came from the fact that I have gotten more into the command blocks side of things, whereas he comes from like pure redstone, slimestone kind of That's what we call it. And so his initial idea was, well, we'll build these giant launchers, and they'll, be these huge things, and you'll run around, and and I was like, why would you do that when you can, why even use redstone? We can just build our own missiles out of command blocks and armor stands. And so we ended up kind of fusing those two in a way that just I don't think either of us could have come anywhere close to something as fun as the way that map ended up, because we didn't have the whole perspective.
Okay, now, once again, you hit on a perfect topic, and that is, together you guys created something extraordinary. I mean, who here has never seen Missile Wars or know about it? Okay, so this is together, working together, solving problems. This is the kind of stuff you get. Okay, working together. I'm now going to go over a little bit to the build teams, because a map is, as Cube Hamster does the kind of the slime stone things. Seth Blink does command blocks, but that is not all a map makes. So we've got over here, we've got James Delaney from Blockworks, and we've got Theo the Ape. Okay, so you guys, between the two of you guys and what you guys have done, you've worked with a lot of different people to make a map. How do you go about that? I think a big thing is, how did you get involved in their maps?
Okay, so my origin, of course, is from build contests and things. So I think the first proper person to approach me after the last Minecon, because of what I did there, was actually Adam over here. And he's made my life a misery ever since. No, no. So he brought me on to the Take Worlds project, and basically he was the producer. I was the primary map maker for that. Oh gosh. Okay, so with that, where me and Adam, it was very much a client builder relationship then. So what it was essentially trying to interpret what Adam wanted and what Tate wanted, and trying to bring in my own style into that, which can often lead to some minor conflicts occasionally. But usually we resolve it pretty simply because we both have mad ideas and we come up with these elaborate schemes. Yeah. And then of course with contests themselves, with any team-based stuff, what we tend to do is we kind of categorize people into little groups and how they work. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Okay, and we're trying to categorize people into like each person has got their own little area to work with, and we try and make sure everyone has got their own input into that project and how they want that to work.
And is that the same experience that you have with your projects, James?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think Alan picked up on a really good point there, which is, as a map maker, you have to be interpreting people's ideas. So someone will come to us with a starting point, a client or someone like Adam, who gets us often involved in these great projects, and they will have a very specific idea maybe in their mind, and we have to think ahead as to what they're envisioning and sort of bring that vision to reality. And I think that's often sort of the greatest challenge for a map maker, is to make something that the person who's asked for it, would be happy with.
See, we now actually have quite two polar opposites to map making. We have commission kind of commission type of work. We've got personal kind of projects. At the end there, we do have Sparks, who's actually part of a charity event that builds mini games for charity. So a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of different kinds of maps out there. So yes, you said you were contacted by this man over there. And then you've also done work on videos and things like that, have you not?
Yeah, we've also had the sort of good fortune to work with a lot of YouTubers. So we recently did some animation sets for Slammer Cow, who's a great animator, and a music video producer called Try Hard Ninja. And what we'll do, they'll say, we're making a music video on animation, give us sort of the pitch, the rundown of it, the script. We'll look at that and then make a build or sort of animation set appropriate to that.
Fantastic. I'm just going to quickly touch on Sparks as well. Especially, and it now kind of hooks into what Cube Hamster and Seth was talking about, is working together as a team. Now, one of the biggest challenges I've seen is this educational, this charity event where they have, how many Redstoners or map makers do you have on that one server?
On the Minathon charity server, we probably have around 7 or 8 games going on. Some of those are being doubled up, so there's multiple people working on it. So quite a range of games all meshing together to this one lobby.
And all of these games, are they vanilla or?
Yeah, completely
so they're
vanilla.
all vanilla. So you guys are all working on one server,
Yeah,
creating mini games in a vanilla environment.
exactly.
How? How do you not strangle each other?
Well, first of all, we had last year's sort of debacle to work on. We learned a lot about integrating the different maps together. So generally, you've got to learn to come up with a standard that you all work towards, which both includes putting like prefixes in front of scoreboards that you're using for your game, so you don't have the same scoreboard name as someone else, like level or lives. And then also any armor stands or entities you're using have prefix names. And then just things like agreeing on ways that people should join your game and return to the lobby, so it's all integrated nicely together.
Right, now, I'm going to slightly go back to the second question we were supposed to ask. So now you've got all of these different maps, people approaching it from completely different ways. Next question is, where do you actually start? Okay, you're standing there, you've got this void world, where do you start? Let's start again with you, Seth. I mean, just the stuff you build is sometimes like you've got hundreds of thousands of command blocks. Where do you start?
It depends on what I'm trying to do. With maps where I'm recreating an existing game, often I'll start by just watching a bunch of YouTube videos of the game, reading a Wikipedia article about the game, that sort of thing. Try and figure out what are the critical aspects that I need to try and recreate in order for it to feel like it is that game, rather than feeling like it's a Minecraft thing that's sort of vaguely related to it. I think that's where I start for that. But if I'm starting with something original, generally I have like a core concept that I want to include. When we worked together, the core concept was we have these missiles, they're made of redstone, and they fly, right? And so you have to figure out a few things. You have to figure out how are the players going to interact with the missiles? How are they going to be able to figure out what the missiles do, how they work, without reading signs or text of any kind, because nobody who plays a map reads any text ever. So you have to figure out, so that's actually one of the starting places, is you have to figure out how you're going to make a game that people can understand easily, and especially because a lot of the ways that you'll advertise a map, or that a map will get into the popular culture, is that a YouTuber will play it, and so you need to make sure that when the YouTuber plays the map, that they're able to understand what the game is, how it works, and they can show it to their viewers easily. So,
fantastic. So you basically start with the playability aspect of it, of the user interface, basically.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, there's obviously many other considerations. You also want the game to be a reasonable length. So you have to figure out what kind of game structure will create a game that lasts 20 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes, or and what's going to work with, like, kind of aesthetically with the way Minecraft works. You don't get little mini blocks. You get 1 meter cubed, and they can't really move around necessarily. You get, certain mobs, spiders and zombies, and they can wear armor, but you have to figure out how you're going to be able to work those things into the game and make it visually appealing as well. So there's like kind of a lot of considerations, and you just have to swirl things around until you've figured out how to kind of hit all of those spots.
Excellent. I'm going to ask the same question to you, QMagnet. The reason is diversity is, once again, one of those odd maps where it combines all genres. So is that, very quickly, explain diversity, and then explain where did you start? How did you start?
Okay, so has anybody played Diversity 2? Okay. So for those who haven't played it, it's basically 10 mini maps all in one map to complete a monument, basically. Sorry, Seth. So that's basically what Diversity and Diversity 2 is. Excuse me. On the second one, I had a team, which is great because I've worked alone. I've also worked with the team. I definitely recommend working with other people. It makes a better map. It makes a more enjoyable experience, but it's a lot more work, I think. Now, where do you start? With me, all the maps that I've started with was some little mechanic. I started my very first map, which is complex. I started that with an opening door. Diversity started with me trying to make a redstone monument. Diversity 2 started with me trying to make a better redstone monument. And then I decided I'm going to make a game out of this little redstone thing.
Excellent. So you would say that experimenting with the game, experimenting with the, and I think it's almost similar to what you said earlier on. It's experimenting with the game, playing the game, is where you kind of often start. Is that correct?
For me, for sure, yeah.
I'm just going to very quickly put this question to Wizard Keen as well, because he approaches it from a very, very different.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, when we get a map, when I get a map commission, I might like with the Guardian or with Tate. Often what we've got is we've got a problem to solve, or we've got information we want to examine. So that might be a painting. So here's a painting, and how do I get people to experience it in a way that tells a story, okay? And maybe that allows a player to kind of find a little bit more about the artist or artwork without them really knowing that they're learning anything. Okay, that's my sneaky way in. So what I do is I start with a piece of paper, quite a large piece of paper, and I make loads of notes. So a lot of my work always starts on paper, making notes, and then I often work with researchers, and I phone a lot of people up and talk to people and get people to do some writing. A lot of our maps actually started as well with a lot of signs or a lot of books. We've scrapped the books and we've gone for custom sounds. So again, we've got people like Stampy, who, I can call on Stampy, a very well-known YouTuber, a very engaging YouTuber, and he's going to deliver a lot of the content for us, so we have to write all those scripts as well.
See, I mean, if you look, I don't know if you guys are aware of the Tape World maps, but if you look at the way we originally did the maps in the beginning with like Pool of London, we had these lines and lines and lines of text. Then we moved on to the next one where we had the toy shop, where we just scrapped the text completely and just had the voice cues and had the sounds as the information. Cool. So you're approaching it from a more of a storytelling kind of a way, and so
Yeah. For me, narrative is the narrative of a map and the story and the way that someone moves through it. I mean, a lot of our maps, the first map especially, was very story. Was do this and then do this and then do this and then do this. The second map became a little bit different, and we're trying every map that gets released is going to be a bit different.
So I'm going to kind of also ask the same inspiration question from you, Cube Hamster. He's just made a map. Personally, I think it's probably one of the most advanced maps I've seen ever. It uses, how many lines of code did you say you have?
Yeah, so we released a map yesterday, and it was not a solo project, but a project I've been working on with Wooby Concepts and Semasaurus 6, who unfortunately are not at Minecon right now, but maybe they're at home watching. That'd be cool. And I did none of the command block stuff in that map, like zero. But oh, actually, no. In Mr. Wars, I did do command block stuff. Like, let's be honest, a little, yeah. But we've been working on that, and I basically came up with the sort of like concept for the map, and I thought of ways of like how you could do things with command blocks, but in the end it was Wooby who brought everything to life. And then the other aspect is that we had Semasaurus create like amazing in-game models, and I think he spent like 60 hours like making models just to kind of give like an idea. But I have to add though that the only reason we were actually able to make this map was because it was a commissioned map. Like the amount of time it took to make it just like was kind of a bit like beyond something you could do as a hobby, unfortunately.
So yeah, so that is, I mean, we don't have that listed, but I think that's a very, very important thing. Map making takes time.
Yeah.
Talking about time, I very, very quickly, I mean, all of us have made maps and failed. Has anybody ever made a map that they have not released that's lying somewhere? Yeah. So would you say it's okay to actually try something, doesn't work, put it aside, and do something new? I'm going to general. Anybody have a strong opinion about this? Excellent.
I personally find the process of making the map and learning as you go through it is more important, at least for me, than the release. So especially previously with like the 1.7 to 1.8 updates where all your redstone's broken.
No.
I think
We don't talk about that.
we don't talk about that, yeah. I think it's more interesting and more rewarding for yourself if you start a new project, if you feel like you want to.
Fantastic.
I feel like I usually don't start a map and then fail to complete it, but that's because the way that I structure my sort of development is that I don't consider that I've started the map until I actually build it, create a new world, and start working on it. Before I even started the map, I've prototyped a lot of things. I've made sure that the technology that I want to work is going to work. I've maybe run a little like test game with some of the technology in there, some of the redstone command block technology, and made sure that it would be kind of fun, but before I've even necessarily started on the actual map. So it's about structuring it so that you know that you're going to succeed when you get the work done.
Right, so if, on a certain level, that's quite often what you strive for. You pre-plan it? Is that kind of what that I'm taking from this? Would you say that?
Yeah.
So it's important to, if you want to, it's okay to play around with concepts, as Seth was saying, but if you want to set out and make a map, planning.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you can play around with concepts a lot, and like the number of concepts that I've worked with that didn't end up becoming a map is huge, but once I start doing something that I consider map making, I've already concepted most of the things. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you just build the whole thing and then you find out this isn't actually fun, and there's just nothing that can be done to make it work. So.
Excellent. So I'm just going to go on to another really, really big question a lot of people want to know is, once you've actually built the map, once you've spent this hundreds of hours building this map, how do you get people to actually play it? Now, I mean, we all released maps. I mean, Seth, you're slightly, I don't know if you guys have actually ever heard of him, but he can cheat the system because of that. But he wasn't always Seth Bling. In the beginning, he was like all of us. So let's see. Let's start with QMagnet. How do you get your map out there? How do you get it played? How do you get your map downloaded? How many million times have your map been downloaded?
I'm not sure. 1.2, something like that, million.
And why? How did that happen?
With the second diversity, I really tried to get sort of a marketing scheme of trying to release it to get people to know about it. Because you could have the greatest map in the world, and if nobody knows about it, you don't have a lot of people playing it, doesn't really matter in some respects. But if you have some sort of avenue to find a YouTuber who would play it, that's a huge advancement to getting people to know, because that's, in one respect, your biggest audience, their viewers, and then that'll just bleed out through everybody else.
So you're saying an avenue.
An avenue.
Would somebody like to elaborate what you mean with an avenue? Cube, I think you've got a strong opinion on that.
Well, like what QMagnet is saying, like YouTubers are a very good way of getting a lot of attention to your map. But I have to say, like, that doesn't mean that necessarily if you're new to the whole like map making thing, you should go ask Captain Sparkles to play your map on Twitter, because that's not going to work. But like the thing is, if your map is good and you have some friends that have a small channel or something where they can do stuff, or you play on a server where there's maybe a YouTuber that might be interested, like if the map is good, it will carry on like throughout the webs, the interwebs, and eventually, like if you look at diversity too, right now it has over 1 million downloads. But I'm assuming that like after the first month, like was it already like completely ridiculous, or?
Well, we had, I think because of the popularity of the first one, we had a massive amount of downloads for the first month. And then it started to go off. Now it's still getting a fair bit, but when maps first come out, if they're popular, they're really popular. and then they kind of die off. The biggest maps that are out are the ones that have been out for 3 years. You know, the dropper or the high pixel maps, things like that.
I think you hit on a very important thing there as well. A lot of maps as popular has been out for a while. It's not instant success. And did you have instant success the first time you tried a map, making a map, Seth?
So my first map that I would consider a custom map that I released was called Pit Frenzy. It was a long time ago, about 3 years now. And I mean, I consider it a success. And the sort of approach that I took was I invited some of my YouTuber friends at that point. I did have a little bit of a YouTube channel. I think I had maybe around 80 or 90,000 subscribers, which is you know, pretty reasonable. But I basically just invited them to come play in a tournament, and I didn't say, hey, all of you need to make a video and do it this way or anything. I just invited them to come play, and I didn't really, I mean, they had channels of similar size to mine and all that, so I wasn't like asking Captain Sparkles, who was insanely famous at the time, necessarily if he wanted to come. And so, but just like getting people playing it who do have some influence, even if it's not like a ton, is a way to it's just to get it going.
Very, very, very good point that you said there. So the takeout that I can take from there is that kind of get people playing your map who's on the same level as you. I mean, I hate this whole level thing, but as was mentioned, you can't go to Captain Sparkles and say, play the map. However, people who know Captain Sparkles might be watching somebody else who you know. So get your friends playing the map, get YouTubers playing the map that you kind of know, and that will build on and go to the next level. Would you say that's a correct assumption? Yeah. Right. I think we have one more thing. I think opportunities. So was it Keen spoken a bit about the Tate world and so forth? Cube Hamster, tell me about, you were saying you cannot make this map if it wasn't commissioned.
So what is just like a trend that I slowly see happening right now, that like with the Tate maps, you had, you know, a museum trying to use Minecraft to get more exposure for their, you know, for their paintings. And recently Disney released Tomorrowland, a movie, and there was like a map about that as well. And you see like that slowly more, you know, businesses are trying to, you know, use Minecraft as a way to brand their things. And if it's a good thing or a bad thing, that, you know, it's kind of out in the open. But it does give certain people like an opportunity to make really cool things that they normally wouldn't be able to do. So like I embrace it, but I don't know what the others think of that.
I think from a building perspective, we're only in a position to do the large builds we do because we've had about 25 builders sort of building for about 5 years now, and there's no way that we'd be able to sustain that unless we had these commissioned opportunities. I mean, for some of these large builds, we're talking about tens of millions of blocks, hundreds of hours. It's not feasible to do unless you're getting something in return. Having said that, obviously you have to start somewhere. It's not like you start Minecraft and suddenly get asked by Disney to build a map. But yeah, so yeah.
So that is the opportunity you have, kind of like financially, but there's also, you know, other opportunities. Would you talk a bit more about that? Was it Keen?
Yeah, so the other opportunities I think that you have with building map is that, and the ones I've had is I've worked for the South Bank Centre, and we did something called the Web We Want. And the Web We Want was about kind of the idea about what is the web and how, so it was a conceptual thing, okay? And we wanted to share ideas with a large group of people and get people to come be involved. And again, Blockworks were involved in recreating the South Bank Centre, which was amazing. But also you can, for yourselves as well, you can also rebuild your own school, college, university, maybe other kind of things. Like I know there are lots of towns being rebuilt. There's Hull, and also kind of theatres as well. The Shakespeare Globe Theatre is being done, and other bits of things that people are doing collaboratively. And I think these little kind of collaborative projects that are happening around the world, and I know loads of them are happening, they're really interesting. And I think if you get an opportunity, if you're a builder or if you're a map maker, you get an opportunity to get involved with something larger that involves a larger group of people, those kind of projects, there's skills, there's other things, and those skills will go beyond Minecraft at the end of the day.
I mean, if you've just had a look at the opening ceremony, what the work they were doing with the UN, that's a very good example of that. Is there anything I've missed? Do you guys feel we still need to talk about anything in particular? Did I cover everything we discussed? No? Shall we, do you guys okay with opening it up to Q&A? Yeah? Yeah? All right, so I don't know if you guys have questions. Is there any questions? Okay. So just one word of warning. We can't really answer questions that requires detailed mechanic answers because it's not feasible. So we would like, if any questions, to be how, why, when, and so forth. So go on. So the white spot over there.
Hello, my name's Cameron, or Bluffmachuk in game. I was wondering, some of you might know Mosh. He's said in the past that Minecraft is its own game engine. Do you think that that's sound logic? And do you ever consider that in the future you may switch to another game engine to create your experiences that you couldn't do any other way?
Now that is a very contentious topic. So I think Cube Hamster already has an answer ready for you.
Yeah, so I actually have really strong opinions about that. And looking at the game we just released, like I call it a game and not a map. And the reason for that is that Wooby, he literally wrote his own program to be able to not manipulate command blocks in game by right-clicking them and typing code. But he literally has a program where he, does programming language that translate into command blocks. And he wrote 6,000 lines of code to make the game work the way it does. We got rid of health. There's no food, there's no crafting, there's no mobs. All the mechanics in the game, the heist that you can download, are completely away from the normal gameplay. So in that case, I would say it's a game. Minecraft is a game engine. And for other maps, I might agree with you and say, you're just using, the kind of blocks that you're given. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think in terms of is it a game engine, is it not? I mean, for me, I kind of like to consider it to be as such, but for me, the semantics of it is almost irrelevant. I'm kind of seeing it as I'm making a game in Minecraft, and if it's an engine, if it isn't, it doesn't really matter. And I'm seeing a lot of debate about it and a lot of argument about it, but in the day, it doesn't matter.
As for the second part of the question, moving on from Minecraft, I think I agree with these guys on everything they just said. I think the really appealing thing about Minecraft for a map maker is, well, first of all, it provides a lot for you, so you don't have to code the physics engine or anything. But really, Minecraft has such a huge audience already, and so if you're interested in getting a map out in front of a game out in front of a lot of eyes, it's just such an easy way to get people's interest, because you take the things they recognize and you do something different with them. And it's a little bit different than creating a standalone game or within a different game engine. But I'm sure at least some of us will go on to develop other games at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good gateway to learn how mechanics work, what works, what people want, and then transfer that. Yeah?
Hi, I'm Amy. I was wondering, if you weren't into map making, what aspect of Minecraft would you be doing? Would you be making YouTube videos, or would you be a developer, for example?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So I'm a lot of things all the time, and when people ask me a question, they say, "Adam, what do you do?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm an artist, so I have ideas and I make stuff. So one of the things I've made recently is like a 3D sculpture of. So I use satellite imagery to create a sculpture of Minecraft sculpture, and we're casting that in actual real life. Yeah. So we're actually making a plaster cast of it, and that's going to be an artistic thing. But also I'm producing a load of maps as well, and then talking to a larger community as well. So and then I like fiddling around with maps myself. So I've got a map on the back boiler that's called Tiny Dentist that uses kind of slimes as bacteria. So there's all these different things that I'm just fascinated with, and I think it's a kind of maybe a type of person type of thing. So I haven't got a real job. This is my real job. It's like a variety of different things that I get to do, which is really enjoyable. And I think that for me, that's the thing. It's like I enjoy what I do, and I think that's one of the tricks of life, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think for everybody here, as you saw, it's an incredibly difficult question to answer because I don't think anybody's ever thought beyond that. This is how we started, and this is what we enjoy. Am I correct? Yeah. Cool.
What was the first map you ever developed?
Excellent. So who wants to start? You want to start? Oh, all right.
Pit Frenzy was mine.
Yeah. Go on.
Like map is in game or like just something I built?
In game.
In game. Because like map making for me is something that I started doing recently, and I think like the first actual mini game map-ish thing was with Seth. And before that, I had like a failure project that ended up not working because Mojang decided to change like all the redstone. So that was unfortunate, but it happens. Anyone else?
theqmagnet?
The first map that I made is a resource pack test map. I love resource packs,
Yeah.
contrary to rumors, but it actually has every block, I think, in Minecraft. You can load up a resource pack, take a look at what it looks like. Every mob, including the Elder Guardian, frozen in space, the Ender Dragon, every block, the mushroom blocks that you can't get in survival, everything. So it took a lot of time.
Excellent. Theo?
I think the first map I ever made was my first ever world in Minecraft, which I spent ages and ages and ages on, painstakingly doing vanilla beta Minecraft, just placing blocks everywhere, and it was kind of terrible. But by the end of it, it just ended up being just a city of just exploring around and trying to get some kind of story in it. But yeah, I'm glad I moved on from that one. What was I say?
Okay, so let's hear from the master builder himself.
So as a map builder rather than a map maker, I would consider anything I build in Minecraft to be a map. So I'm afraid for that question, my answer is probably going to have to be a dirt hut or something, something similarly uninspiring.
Who has built a dirt hut? Come on. There we go. We all map makers.
So the first map that I kind of released was, released properly, was I made a giant human being out of medical scans, and it took me months and months and months, and I got down to about the shoulders, and then I had a conversation with Adrian Brightmore, and he said, "What are you trying to do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm using PGNs, and I'm converting them into kind of slices of Minecraft map," and he goes, "Give me 20 minutes." And 20 minutes later, he sent me a script for an MC edit, and it did it in 6 minutes. And I've been working for 2 months on this thing. So I wept a little, and then I also realized that what I should have done at school was learn programming and maths. So there you go, another kind of wholesome answer for me. But that was my first one, the human body.
So that's a very good point he made. Ask for help. Okay, forums and all of those things. Ask for help. 3 months versus 15 minutes. Did you want to say something? No. Yeah, does that answer your question? So yeah, Adrian Brightmore is a delight to work with. Yeah, where is he? He made me say that.
I think Adrian Brightmore's made all of our lives easier.
Yeah, he has, yeah, with MC. So I think a question I wanted to actually ask is the various tools that we use to make maps, online generators, MC Edit, and things like that. I don't know. Do you guys want to very quickly touch on that? Anybody? Or shall we just ask you a question? We'll get back to that one.
What is the best way to end an adventure map?
So would you mind repeating the question?
What is the best way to end an adventure map?
Don't ask me.
What's the best way to end an adventure map?
Yeah.
I think the ending is the most important thing of your map. And then the beginning is your second most important thing. So a lot of people like fireworks, but something that will wow people, I think, and maybe bring a conclusion of, that was a really good experience. So something original, something flashy, it's definitely the most important thing of the map. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But just be careful not to put all of your eggs in your end game, because if you're not engaged during the whole map, you're not going to see the end. But
yeah. That's very important, actually, is that you've got to have a very strong game throughout. But if your adventure map has got an ending, it has to be very, very strong. And because it's the last thing that people are going to see of the map, and it's the last thing they'll remember of the map. So if you've got kind of this ending that's kind of like, oh, well, that was all right. That's all they're going to think of the map. They're going to think it's all, yeah, it was a good map. But if it ends on a really high note, you've just beaten this villain, say, for example, who's kind of been all with the proper full-blown film theatrics, then people are going to come away and go, I want another one of those.
Does that answer your question? So make it strong.
If you are a map maker, is it necessary to have a YouTube?
I'll be honest. Okay, from my point of view, being a map maker and being a YouTuber, very difficult combination. Okay, I don't know what everybody else's take on that is.
I think I've played a lot of maps from people that don't have a YouTube channel, but that's just like because I searched for certain map types. But I think like if you want to get a broader audience, a YouTube channel is like definitely helpful.
Anybody else?
You guys played the Dropper? Dropper? Anybody played the Dropper? It's arguably the biggest map of all time. Biggery doesn't have a YouTube channel. So I think now, the way that the community's developed, it's really important, especially when you want to release a trailer. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a channel. But if you're going to be a map maker, I think you should focus on that rather than your YouTube videos.
Yeah, I mean, it's like obviously a huge advantage to me, as a map maker, to have this channel with a large following. The second I put out a map, it's in front of hundreds of thousands of eyes, honestly. So it can be a huge advantage, but at the same time, in order to maintain my YouTube channel, I can't afford to spend very much time on any one project. So it restricts what I can do, which sometimes breeds creativity. It makes me say, okay, I need to have a really focused idea that I know I can execute on really quickly. Most of my maps don't take me longer than, I think, maybe 4 days to build. And that's because I know that I can't afford to spend more time than that on other maps. And sometimes I might like to, but I can't neglect the YouTube channel because that's a big part of what I do.
So I think we're on the cusp of a kind of a revolution. It's useful to have YouTube channels because that gets your content out to a lot of people. I don't really use my YouTube channel to do that. My YouTube channel is kind of a family let's play and a couple of kind of interesting things that you can do at home that you can learn. But I think with Minecraft in schools, I think there are going to be lots more opportunities for Minecraft maps from a game band, from in school, from universities, from lots of different venues. You're going to be able to contribute and also consume maps in the future. It's not going to just be Minecraft forums, which is a good place to go, or Curse, all those kind of places, traditional places that you find maps. There's going to be a lot more places. And I think the education aspect of it and the kind of the cultural aspect of these kind of things is going to be really interesting.
So just to recap, you don't need a YouTube channel to make a map. If you do, make sure other people help you because it takes a very long time. Okay. Right, we're kind of running out of time, so we'll probably take one or two more questions.
This is a question for Cube Hamster. what enabled you to work out the logic required for Slimestone and ultimately your robots and flying machines?
I would really like to answer that, but I think that might be a better question for the Redstone panel, which will be later today. So I think it might be better to like, we'll talk about it there. I think it's better. Is it okay? All right.
Good question, though. Very, very good question.
What map are you most proud of making? Or like, what's your favorite map that you've made yourself?
Very good question. Where shall we start? Who wants to start? Hands up. OK, go for it, Seth. Not the shy one.
I was super proud of Super Craft Brothers. That was a map that was loosely based on Super Smash Brothers, but it was really reimagined. It took a lot of creativity to try and make the concepts work, especially with how limited command blocks were back then. But also the fact that I made everything myself, which is not always the case. And I was able to make several maps myself by sort of taking parts of actual Minecraft worlds. I just basically loaded up a new Minecraft world, found a part, and then just took it out with MC Edit, put it in my map, and kind of sculpted it a little bit. And so just the fact that I was able to do the whole thing on my own, and even the trailer, even this logo, which if you look at it real close is, but I did it in Photoshop, and I don't know how to use Photoshop. So, but just every little piece of it, you can feel proud when you've done something, completely on your own.
There was a complete accomplishment by yourself, doing the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. Go for excellent.
Normally, when we build a map, that's finished, that's done. But recently, we had the opportunity to work on the Mionite series. You might have heard of it. And so this wasn't just a map that we built, it was a world that evolved over about 3-4 months that the series has been ongoing. So after every day, we would make changes to the map according to the events of the series. So it's like a sort of live role-playing, building experience. It was all, yeah. And that's probably what I'm most proud of, because it was evolving and developing.
Excellent. theqmagnet?
What's my most proud map? Probably Diversity 2, I think.
Diversity 3. Diversity 3.
Diversity 3?
Diversity 3?
Diversity 3.
3, yeah. It's coming out. When? Sorry?
If everybody in this room helps me build it. All right, cool. All
so
right,
Diversity. theqmagnet? Cube Hamster.
I think that the project I released yesterday, I'm really, really proud of.
It is phenomenal.
But it's like combined effort. Like I'm very proud of the stuff that Sam did, and very proud of the stuff that Whoopi did, and yeah. But also I'm really proud of Missile Wars. Like yeah.
Okay. The favorite map I've worked on was a map we produced for a contest named Mojang last year, named Aggravated Armies. In 4 days, with just 5 of us, we managed to build a full-scale map, and it's one that I enjoy playing. And it was midway through 1.8 development, so it was that week's snapshots abilities, and we were bringing in like everything we possibly could. And I'm so proud of it because of how much we did in such a short period of time.
Well, I'm going to give Adam a chance because I think we've got an overlap on this one. But personally, for me, it's the Tate World's toy shop. I mean, I didn't build the actual toy shop, but the complete mechanics, game design, everything but the pretty pictures. Yeah, it's one of the best I think I've built. Oh, yeah, mechanics-wise. Love that thing.
And the kind of map I'm most proud of, I suppose, is not just the map, but the mechanics. And again, we didn't really build the map, but so I didn't build it. But we've got these. I'm part of Wonder Quest, which is an educational show with Stampy, and we are in maps each week, and we play in them, and they've each got some kind of mechanic in there that allows us to learn something, whether it's a zombie falling off a bridge, or today's map, I don't know what's quite going to happen in that one, but there's always something inside of them, and we all get to contribute ideas, and it's a lovely mix of different people's ideas and talent that creates the map. And it's when that happens on a large scale with something like, and with Stampy attached to it as well, that's fantastic. It's really good fun, and you get loads of feedback, and that's something me and you have worked on for a long time.
Absolutely. No. That's an interesting one as well, because that is actually an adventure map. People don't realize it, but that is I mean, the map, once again, itself was actually built by the Voxel Box, which did a phenomenal job on it. I just took it and pieced it together as needed. But it's a fully functioning adventure map where if you see on the show that, as Adam was saying, the zombie falls down when he walks over a bridge because he's too heavy, that is in the map. You can download the map, go to that spot, click the button, and it'll happen. All right, so that's our last question.
How did you get started in making maps and making games and things like that? What inspired you to start?
Well, anybody want to take that one to start off with?
Most of these guys up here gave me inspiration. I've basically, all my maps that I've worked on have been directly inspired by other map makers and their maps. So actually, thank you everybody for your work in the community, because I personally wouldn't be into it if it wasn't for even, probably some of you are out there, but the entire Minecraft community, for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like there should be nothing stopping you from, you know, going out and creating your own story or your own little game or like whatever you want to do. And the same thing for me. Like you play a map or you see a movie or you go somewhere and you try and see if you can turn that into something. That's the cool thing about Minecraft. Like you have full creative control. And of course there are limitations, but those like breed creativity as well. So just go for it.
I think for me, my inspiration was a sort of YouTuber-ish person called Translander. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. Sort of an old school map maker, doesn't do it so much anymore, but he got me very much into the command blocks and the process, and also his style of videoing the creation of the map rather than just releasing the map at the end.
Well, for me as well, I mean, I've got two of my biggest influences in Minecraft sitting on the table in the end there, Cube Hamster and Seth Bling. Watching what they did, thinking, well, what they're doing is phenomenal. I want to do that. And yeah, that's why we here.
I think for me, I've been sneaking in video games into schools for about 10 years, and from Spore, at the end of a class, I used to do kind of animation workshops and other bits and pieces like that. And I've been at the end of it, I'd always sort of like, let's play a video game, ladies and gentlemen. And I always saw the learning potential in video games within classrooms. I think it's, you always have to learn how to play a game. And some of these things, if you make it fun at the same time, I think learning can be a very exciting space. So that's how I first started, and that's how I got into Minecraft. Because Minecraft, I think, is one of the most unintimidating sort of platforms or formats that you can kind of get into, especially if you want to then go further and share your skills into other kind of formats as well.
I think I started map making for the same reason I started making YouTube videos. It's just really nice to know that somebody out there is enjoying themselves because of work that you did. That's it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that is a very, very good point. Yeah, it's actually you guys in the audience. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So I think for me, it was I started customizing games and stuff with my own assets and stuff since Civilization 2. Which I think it was 96, 97 that came out, around about that time. And I went through a big period where I wasn't doing very much at all because I didn't find that outlet. And then Minecraft came along and I was like, this is what I'm going to do with it. There was no question about it. So just Minecraft itself was what made me want to make maps. This is what this is for.
I think as well, a lot of people want to make a game, and Minecraft is so accessible. So I won't say it's easy to learn, but it's relatively easy to pick up on, draw from the community how to make things, and then make your own maps. That's, yeah. Anybody else? Last? Cool, guys. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's great having you guys.